Hey world, welcome to the KEW exchange where knowledge through experience transforms into wisdom. And my guest today is Hallie Avolio, a good friend of mine. And we are going to talk about destroying victim mentality. It's one of my favorite topics because I lived in it for so long. And I am really grayed out today. Like, I didn't even realize that I'm gray on gray on gray. So I'm going to need a wardrobe
But
person
your
at some
eyes are
point.
popping.
Yeah,
But
my
your eyes are just popping.
yeah, I mean, maybe I should just wear bland all day, every day. I don't know. I mean, bring out my
And then
characters. Let the eyes jump.
stunning.
I think they're blue today, too.
Well, the eyes are the windows to the
Yeah,
soul.
I think they're blue today, actually.
They are. What color are they normally? Do you like switch between blue
Yeah,
and green?
blue, green, and gray, actually. Dep-
Oh, nice. I'm just brown.
yeah.
Deep brown.
Mine bounce around, I think, based on mood and what's going on and what I'm doing for the day. It's kind
And probably what you're
of,
wearing too. And what you're wearing.
I don't think so. I don't think they changed, but
You don't think?
no. I've never noticed
Oh,
that, actually. Then again, I mean, I don't pay attention, so what do I know?
you're a chameleon.
I always used to be, right? Like I lived in that victim mentality and I was able to mold and be whatever I needed to be to fit into the moment, right? So I think that played a role in that victim mentality for me because if I always stayed in victim, then I just always fit in somewhere. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the victim mentality for me. I lived it. I literally lived it for the majority of my life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was always everybody else, always everything else, always everyone else. Woe is me, the world is against me, everything's against me, and it's not anymore. It's just not. Like I've realized that it's here, it's in abundance, and everything is here. We just need to want it and work for it and do the work. So, for anyone who might not know you, I'm going to shut up for a few minutes and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is great. We've done this a couple of times now,
Yeah,
and I always enjoy our conversation. So thank you for allowing me to share the stage with you today. As you said, my name is Hallie Avolio, and my business is called Sassy Healthy Fit. And my mission is to empower humans to live their best life, show up as their most authentic self, have more fun, and not apologize or have guilt around any of it. So that is my intention and my mission. And I do that through teaching primarily. Uh, I struggle with the word coach. I just dislike the word coach. So I look at myself more as a guide and a teacher and a mentor. I love teaching, especially groups. Um, I'm very connected to the community feel, and I think that that's a, a beautiful when humans can come together in community, and a community can be 3 people, it can be 5,000 people. It doesn't matter the amount of people, but I love working with people in a community. So one of my favorite things that I get to do, that I have the privilege to do, is to lead what I call the Sassy Woman Sisterhood, which is a Facebook group. And it is women only, but if anyone here is interested in joining, I would welcome you. We talk about
I'm
all
in
the
it.
things.
I'm in it actually, I think. Didn't you?
No,
Oh,
no,
not. Oh,
it's
okay. All
it's
right.
women, it's women only, but the conversations are around topics that are relevant to women, so that we can get out of this, mindset of, you hear talked about a lot is like Superwoman syndrome. So women struggle with this. Men probably struggle with this too, truthfully, but where we have this idea that we have to constantly be doing for others, like what you were saying before, Mike, and we don't give to ourselves. We don't nourish ourselves. So I want to create a community and teach women how to show up for themselves, and teach men as well. So it's not just, it's not just women, but how as humans can we show up in community? How can we connect with ourselves first so that we can better connect with others? And that to me is what I see is the truest way to get out of victim mentality, to really elevate your mindset, to raise your vibrations, to live your best life, is to know, who are you? Who are you at your core? Who is Mike? Who is Hallie? What are we about? And really having this massive amount of both self-awareness and self-compassion. And when you do that, I find that you show up in life so much stronger, so much more grateful, with so much more presence, and it's really, really beautiful. I haven't always been like this, and I had to walk my own path of victim mentality as well. But I feel very privileged to be able to teach everybody that I get to teach. I absolutely love it. It lights me up. We were just talking before about, not having to work. And I don't feel like what I do is work in the sense of I just love so much these conversations and opening these doors and seeing transformations and others, empowering them to really step into who they are so that they feel amazing, if not every day, majority of the days.
So, okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of appreciation. It's because of you that when I clean, right, when the kids aren't home, that whether I drive a round trip of hell to bring them to school, or it's a Saturday that their mother has them for the 10 hours, I now put my noise canceling headphones on, I blast music, and I dance around the house cleaning,
Oh
right?
my
So
God.
this is because of you, right? Because one, I just never let go, right? Like when I was in that victim mentality and I lived in that space, I couldn't let myself just go. I couldn't, I was so busy trying to keep this facade up and trying to pretend that I was something else and had to fit into this role for different people in my life and almost everyone in my life because that's the dynamic that I created for myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that that's what they expected of me, it's what I showed them I was. So I, in turn, created it upon myself, and then I still had to fit into it.
Right.
So because of you, I watched you and I absorbed it, and it just happened to be as I'm going through my transformation and as I'm doing everything, doing all the work, you know, I finally was able to start letting go and just enjoying things.
Oh, I love it. That makes me so happy. Dance is one of the best ways to shift your energy, shift your mindset, elevate yourself in all the ways. Like you said, to let go and really just to give yourself some love. There's so much power in movement. And I don't, care if you are a good dancer or bad. That is irrelevant. The style of dance, it does not matter. It's literally moving the energy through your body in a way that just nourishes you mind body spirit. And that's one of my very favorite things. I do dance parties as often as I can, and sometimes I just put on one song and I just kind of like rock out to myself and I'm good to go. It's such a shift. It just helps you transition from any mindset of complacency or negativity, or even if you've just been working too long, you feel good but you've just been staring at a computer screen for too long. You're like, let me get up and move my body, infuse my body with this massive amount of energy. It's awesome. So I love, love, love that you're doing that.
It's almost like you created a healthy trigger, right? Like a healthy switch, right?
Yeah.
Like this, and it just flips it. And I've got to say, like, nobody wants to clean, right? Nobody wants to clean. But
No.
when I put the music on, I don't mind it, and I almost quasi enjoy it. I don't want to admit that too loud because I do have 3 kids and they make a hell of a mess.
Me
Um,
too.
of everything, right? But like I do enjoy it. I really do, and I enjoy my me time when I get to
Mm.
by myself and have that period of time to do what I need to do for me. Even if that is, who cares? I'm making the most of it.
That's the key right there, is how can I take care of me, right? Here's one of the things that I feel is really often miscommunicated, is that the idea of self-care and self-love is something that happens on a nice to have basis. Yeah, it's nice to practice self-care. It's nice to have self-love. I'll do it when I get around to it. And I strongly disagree with, but I don't think that the problem is that we've been told the message, the way that we can practice self-care and self-love, involves, very extravagant sort of experiences, but it doesn't. What it means is putting yourself first, prioritizing yourself, understanding what makes you feel good. So the fact that you can, put on your music and dance and go into the mic zone when you are cleaning, right? And you're allowing yourself just to be who you are with yourself. That is awesome self-care and self-love. And that doesn't require anything fancy. It doesn't require any money. It doesn't require anything external. It's just you making a choice and you making a decision to prioritize yourself because you are in alignment with what your values are. And that is the biggest message that I want everyone to hear, is that if you want to practice self-care and self-love, you have to understand Who are you? And get in alignment with your core values so that you can show up for yourself every single day without exception, every single day.
Well, the core values thing is difficult, right? Because I never, up until I was doing the work last year and, working through all my shit, right? Like years and years of shit. I never understood what core values even were, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember my aunt always saying, patience is a virtue, patience is a virtue.
Mm.
Over time, I would say, I'm not that patient. I don't have that virtue. Take it and shove it. And that's what I would do, right? Because I just wasn't a patient person. Um, as I've gone through this transformation and change and continue, and it's a daily process, and I still have lots of shitty days in between, so I'm not going to say I don't. But as I'm going through this, you know, I have become more patient with myself and those around me, and I have, under a full understanding of my core values today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Constantly evolving. You have your
Yeah.
core, clear communication, blunt honesty, integrity, unconditional love, patience, perpetual growth for me is huge. I need it. Mental stimulation is enormous for me, right? Like I need mental stimulation in my life. Guiding others, right? I don't like coach either, so guiding is what the word I use. All those different pieces. Like once you start identifying who you are, then you need to step into it. And that's a different story, right? Because stepping into it puts you in a situation sometimes where you, when you, especially for me, it's the transparency, honesty, right? The transparent, blunt, transparent honesty. It's almost uncomfortable conversations at times because there's times I volunteer information that was not asked of me, requested of me, but because I need to live in my core values, I share it. And
Mm-hmm.
it creates very uncomfortable situations at times.
Yep.
But when I walk away from it, I know that I did what I needed to do for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I'm worth doing it for me.
Right.
No matter what the result is, I can't control anybody else's reactions or actions. So it was a matter of having to control how I did handle it.
Right. And one of the biggest challenges, I think, with a victim mindset or a victim mentality is that it's real easy to wear that badge of honor.
Mm.
It's real easy to say, oh, poor me. I'm a victim. Isn't this awful? I'm so sad. And then what happens? You get attention from other people. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. How can I help you? What do you need? Right. But if it's not an actual need, right? It's not like somebody asking for help, which is a completely different scenario. It's, I can't get out of my own damn way. And so I'm now in this woe is me, poor me space. It's like the boy who cried wolf, right? Eventually, people realize that you're full of shit and they're not going to offer to help you anymore, number one. But number two, showing up as a victim doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve anyone. It feels comfortable. You get used to it. It becomes a badge of honor often, but it's not expansive. In fact, it's very, constricting. It's a constricting way to live. And if you are happy to go through life living in constriction and scarcity and fear, then go ahead and stay with the victim mindset. But if you want to really own your life and be expansive and abundant, like you said, and own up to all the things, even on the shitty days, like you said, we don't all, I mean, it's absolutely unrealistic to think that everybody has amazing days every day. That's not going to happen. That's not life. But that doesn't mean that when something happens, an obstacle on your way, or something negative occurs, or something really sad happens, that you have to like wallow, right? Allow the feelings, allow the sadness, allow the anger, the frustration, whatever, the anxiety. Don't judge it, just allow it, but then let it move through you. And that's one of the biggest things that I like to talk about with victim mentality is the victim stays in that negative space. The victim is like in a, imagine like you're in a mud puddle and you can't get out, but they're not choosing to get out. They're like a life ring is thrown to them and they're just like, I'm not grabbing the life ring. Oh no, I can't hear you for some reason.
Okay. Well, now that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a
Yeah.
call. I haven't figured out how to shut
Oh.
all lives. No, I agree with you though, right? Like I spent so much time in that victim mentality and it was always everyone else's fault. And even when I first got out here, like, I mean, it's a year ago now, which is insane to me because, February 23rd is the day, 23rd, no, 24th is actually the day that I got to Arkansas.
So or a year ago yesterday.
A year ago yesterday, yeah. And then it was March 6th when I got my kids. But like when I first got out here, I was miserable. It was all my fault. Everything was woe is me. Everything is what do I do? And I started spewing that shit everywhere. Like and at the time I didn't know what I was doing because that was my normal state based on how I grew up and how I just always handled things. So I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. And I did notice that certain people backed off from me.
Mm-hmm.
Certain people leaned in and tried to guide me a different way. But a lot of people did back off, and I respect them more for it today. I wish somebody could have reached through the phone and punched me in the face and been like, pull your head out of your.
That right?
But and then I went into a massive depression for 2 months, right? And it was just these triggers after trigger after trigger, and then starting to do all the work is when I started seeing what I was doing. And there's still been moments over the past few weeks and months that I've been, victim mentality again, that I sink into it because it's such a habit. It's
Exactly.
so how do you? Okay, so here's the thing, right? Here's a question for you that I really want your opinion on.
Okay.
Because when I do sink into it, yes, I have a great circle around me and people do call me on my shit today. So it's a little bit different. Like, because I've allowed people to get close to me and I've allowed people to, be at the most intimate levels of my life and relationships, families, whatever you want to call it. Right. Different layers of my trust circle. And so when I look at it, how do you self-identify when you're falling back into victim mentality? Is there a way to catch yourself, or is it just when you start slipping in, you need an outsider to punch you?
I mean, for sure, the outsider punching you is helpful, right? And it's real easy to slip in and not catch yourself, but that's where the self-awareness comes in. So I think that the best way to really tap into who you are is to make sure that you have these practices in your life that allow you to kind of transcend this negative mindset that comes up. So you can actually, I talked about this last night. I did a live with Lauren Sweeney, and we talked exactly about this, that sometimes you just have to coach yourself, right? So I am going to use the word coach in this circumstance because I do think that it's relevant. So you have to be able to be so aware of who you are that and you recognize when you are, stepping into this space of negativity, self-doubt, limiting beliefs, victim mindset, whatever it is, right? And
Mhm.
you have to have the tools available to yourself that you can give yourself a punch in the face, right? And say, like, snap out of it. So I'll give you an example. I'm a huge fan of journaling. I know we've talked about this before. And for me, journaling is probably the best way that I can be self aware and have those conversations with myself, especially the hard ones, because nobody's reading my journal, nobody's judging it. I'm not judging it. I just allow it to be a place for me to release and to share and to brain dump and all the things. So the other day I was having, the self doubt gremlins were showing up and in all the ways. And so I realized that they were showing up. And yes, I could have easily slipped into self doubt victim mode. But instead, I had a conversation with myself in my journal. And I said, okay, here's what the self doubt gremlin is saying. And then I said, what's the reality? And basically, everything that self doubt gremlin was saying was a freaking lie. And I wrote that out. And when I looked at it, and I was like, all right, Hallie, get over yourself. Like, you don't need to believe these lies. You need to trust, surrender, allow, have faith, and know that you are on the right path. So I think one of the best ways to tap into it is to figure out what are the tools that you can use to be self-aware. So for some people it's meditation, other people like to connect with nature. Like I said, I like journaling. It could even be, just snapping yourself out of it with some music or dance. That can be another good positive trigger that just kind of brings you back to alignment and brings you back to, wait a second, I have to recalibrate and see where I'm at right now.
See, looking back over my life, like now at 42, almost 42, I can look back and be like, I now understand why as a kid there was times I literally used to run my head into the wall, right? Because
Yeah.
just I didn't know how to get it to stop, right? I just didn't know how. And in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't this big thing. Let's clear your head out. It was more of this, everything's perfect on the outside, shitty on the inside. And it was a great way to live, right? So, like I at this, and I'm an auditory person, so the way that I journal is I need to vent it out first, right?
Yep.
And because I have such a great circle now, and a supportive circle, and an understanding circle of who I am and what my needs are also, and I create space for so many people, that I'm very fortunate to have people create space for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even that I want opinions or I want anything else. It's let me rant my crazy nut job tyrants out of my head, and then I can go write them out, right? Because
Sure.
if I don't say it in a vocal way, auditorily, I don't even know if that's a word actually. If it is it really?
Yeah,
Oh,
auditorily, yeah. I
cool.
believe.
I almost sound intelligent today. So you never know with me. I have Mike-isms that creates new words.
I did that too in my morning motivation
I
minute
heard,
today.
I heard that's actually you do the same thing I do. You just keep going.
I'm
It does
like, I don't know if it's a word, but it's all good. We just move on.
all good. So for me, if I didn't do it that way, right, knowing how I process, it took a lot for me to understand how I process.
Yeah.
And now that I know, it saves me from actually, being able to do anything in life but journal.
Right.
Because literally, with the crazy crap that runs through my head, I would be journaling. Like, I wouldn't even have time to drive my kids to school. I mean, it's
Right.
a trip, but still, I wouldn't have time.
You know what's another great, and I don't, I'm so glad that you have this awesome circle and people, and I know you and I have talked in this kind of way as well. But for somebody that maybe doesn't have, that close group, or, isn't sure if they're yet at the trust factor with people to, vent or share, or they're not available, or you don't want to always burden somebody else with your shit, right? Because that's another piece. Like, you have to be mindful of other people, right? And I used to have friends, by the way, that would dump shit on me daily. And I would take it because I felt like, I'll tell you why though, because I felt like they were accepting me more. And I felt like it made me special. And I felt like it was this unique relationship where I was the only person that could listen to them, but it was never give and take. And it was bullshit. And then when, there was one person in particular, and when that relationship ended about a year ago, I was like, oh my God, I'm so much more free. But I didn't realize it in the moment because I was so caught up in all this other stuff. But I digress. What I wanted to share was another option that works for me really well, because I also like to process out loud, is doing a voice memo. So using the voice memo feature on the phone. I don't know if you ever do that, but for me, sometimes it's great just to like leave myself a long ass winded voice memo while I'm walking. And that just allows me to process in a way that sometimes that's what I need.
I don't like my voice, so I think that's an issue. Um, that I get hypercritical of my voice. But no, but you know what it is also? I'm at a point now where I'm comfortable saying to the people in my circle, if you can't take it a day, just let me know, because I don't want to burden you.
Right.
I will always hold space for you in return, and that's what this is. But if there's a day you can't do it, just tell me and I won't do it.
Right.
And I've created that clarity and transparency and clear communication back and forth, because to me, again, it's about my core values, me living into them, but it's also about me creating that safe space for others.
Yep.
I can't take your shit today,
Right.
and that's okay. you know
Right.
also, if they say the same, and if they say the same, I mean, that was last Saturday for me. That was literally last Saturday. I couldn't get a hold of anyone, and at some point I stopped. I mean, I didn't call 50 people. I didn't call 100 people. I mean, I called 3 or 4. Nobody was available. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to sit in it. Right.
Yeah.
I cried for 6 hours, literally. Like, I don't know how I kept my contacts in, because they should have floated out of my head. My eyes were burning. They felt like sandpaper. It was. And then when I woke up Sunday, see, there's Annie talking about my blue eyes today. When I woke up Sunday, it was, I felt like it was gone. I didn't feel great. Like, I still had it,
Because
but
you released it and you didn't judge yourself for it. That's the thing. You were in that mud pit, but you took the lifeline, which was, I'm allowing myself to feel the feelings. I can't reach the people. And that's like my number one way to go. But so you could have made a choice to continue to wallow and be pissed off and go into like an anger space.
Right.
But instead, you allowed yourself to process in the way you needed to, which manifested in tears, which is awesome. Like crying is such a beautiful release. And I really want to just honor that you share that, especially as a man, because I think that in our society, crying for men is really looked down upon, and it's not for no reason. I mean, it's so ridiculous to think that any human shouldn't be able to express themselves in any way, screaming, crying, laughing, whatever, right? So I love that you just share that, because I think that that's really powerful for other men to identify with. It's good. Sometimes we need to release in that way so that we can work through, because if you don't work through the feelings, you're never going to move past them.
I agree, right? And that's one of the reasons I created my YouTube in the first place, right? I've been told that I'm intimidating looking, which I really don't understand, because I'm like this human teddy bear.
I was going to say, with blue eyes, how could you be intimidating?
I don't get it, right? I just don't, because I'm literally a human teddy bear. I am. I've always been a highly sensitive person, highly sensitive. I've always been over emotional, and I'm okay with all those things today, right? Like I never was in the past, but I'm okay today. And it's interesting. Like you're right. There's not enough males that feel comfortable expressing themselves that way, and there's not enough, you know, single parents that feel comfortable expressing themselves that way either, right? Because they feel like they always have to have that tough surface out. The reality is, I want my kids to see me like that. I want my kids to see me process. I have my kids. I always have them, right? I have them 24/7. They see me like that all the time. They see me process. They see me release. They see me allow it. And yes, Nancy, exactly. We don't plug the leaks very often.
Yes.
And yes, Ahmad, Hallie's amazing. We all know this. We should do a statue for Hallie.
No, no. Although the Leo side of me is like, okay.
But I think that's a big part of it, right? It is there's so many stigmas against everything.
Oh,
Like
100%
a
ridiculous.
whole thing, right? And we need to take a step back from them all.
Hmm.
That creates a lot of the victim mentality also, the stigmas, the labels, the isms.
Yes, the comparison. I mean,
Yes.
for me, that was a big part of my story is, I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to have this perfect life, this perfect family, this perfect job, this perfect existence. And I was pretty much willing to do anything it took to maintain that image and that reputation. And I had a lot of the things, I'd had a really good job. I got married to an amazing man who we're still married, by the way, which is awesome. He's my best friend. And I have 3 beautiful children and all the things. But then when a few things started crumbling, I started feeling less than. And that made me frustrated and angry. But I kept grasping at straws, trying to fill my life, fill the voids, fill with other things that I thought would make me, get to that perfect space. And then, the difference you mentioned earlier about, in the 80s and 90s, we could be whatever on the outside, but crumbling on the inside. Well, now it's almost worse because with social media, it's like you are publicly expected to be perfect on the outside when you're crumbling on the inside. And that is what happened with me, is that I was so concerned with this comparison to other moms, especially, was how am I showing up online and in, parties and in these social circles, and if I don't have all these things, if I don't have all this stuff, then I must be failing. So I was beating myself up on the inside, showing up a different way on the outside, and it turned into this tumultuous whirlwind inside myself where I was just at odds, and I was in a path of self-destruction after a while. So that's what I had to pull myself out of and stop blaming everybody else and every other circumstance for my life not being perfect, which I don't want to be perfect. Perfect sucks, man. Perfect is too much pressure. Like, I just want to be me and have fun. And yeah, I'm going to mess up. And that's okay, because when I mess up, I learn. So bring it on. Bring it on.
Two things that sparked. One is Nancy's comment. I agree 100%. Overly emotional is definitely
Yeah,
something
agreed.
I say it about myself. But that's true. That's really true, right? Like I'm
I'm
very
emotional.
highly
So
emotional. I'm an overachiever with emotions. How about that?
Okay. All
And it's
right.
a positive spin, right? For me, like you were talking about, right? With like being perfect and having to, and then filling voids. It was the escapism, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh, 100%.
with escapism, workaholic, sexaholic, pornaholic, alcoholic, drug addict. I mean, the list went on and on. It didn't matter what it was. It was all these evasive. I don't want to deal with myself, so I'm going to find something to get numb with because I always wanted to be numb.
Yes.
Didn't want to feel what I was feeling, right? And maybe Nancy's right. Maybe because I was labeled overly emotional and I was this crazy, you're a male, you're a boy, you can't be emotional like this. You can't cry all the time. You can't be this, you can't be that. My
But why?
answer to my family at that time was then tell everybody else to be happier because I feel everybody else's shit. And they didn't believe me, so then they brought me to therapists, psychiatrists, and neurologists to see if I, was broken. But that's besides the point. At the time, I remember these feelings, and that's where the victim mentality started for me back then, because I was constantly being pushed into this box of, you can't be this about you, you can't be that about you, this can't be real about you. So you have to fit right here. You
Mm-hmm.
you have to squeeze into this,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter where you move in life, you still have to stay in this.
Right.
Luckily, I'm not a very good rule follower at all. I don't like authority at all, and I constantly became the perennial underachiever, because then I could always, exceed those without trying,
Mm-hmm.
and I always looked for those ways out, no matter what it was. Those hiding behind those things that numb things out for me, that did so much more damage in the long run, while it blocked. I love you, Nancy. That's a good comment. Yes, that is true. Um,
So true.
that is true. I'm getting there. It's a work in progress. Every day's a step forward, even the bad ones, even if it's falling forward.
Of course.
But like, what I realize is, you know, it made me feel worse. It always ended up worse, no matter what I did, no matter what I did to escape. Even if I was winning at whatever I was doing, like gambling was another one for a while. I remember, I don't know, it was like DraftKings or one of those sites. When they first came out, I put like $50 in it. Next thing I knew, I had like 5 or 6 thousand, and that wasn't good enough for me. Like I
Right.
turned, so what did I do? I turned around and started betting 1,000 on a thing, and then I went to like 15,000, and then I went to zero overnight because I just kept going until I won. I wasn't happy until I lost everything.
Right.
Kept pushing that limit, and I did that in Vegas with blackjack too, and I did that in many ways. And I was pretty good at counting cards and still did it on purpose. But it's like it was the self sabotage, the finding ways to hurt myself, and always wanting to be in that victim because I felt so comfortable there.
Because it's comfortable. It's like being in a big cozy blanket that's not actually cozy. It seems cozy, but it's not actually cozy. So, the thing about victim mentality, because you asked me earlier, what do you do to get out of it? And it starts with making the choice. And I'll tell you, I'm sure that you can relate to this as well. For me, when I had to get out of my victim mentality, I finally hit my low threshold for myself, which sometimes that's what needs to happen. Sometimes that's the trigger, is where you hit your own level of rock bottom and you're finally like, I've had enough discomfort that I need to figure this shit out. I need to make a shift of some sort. And then you figure out the tools, you ask for help, you get yourself to a place of self-awareness, self-love, self-compassion. And that's really the only way. The thing is, if someone's stuck in a victim mindset, nobody else can get them out of it until they're ready to do it themselves. And that is the only way. Now, that said, I do believe that if somebody is in a victim mindset, desire to get out of it, but they don't know how to do it, yes, absolutely get the help you need. There are tools, there are guides, there are people like you and myself, right? That we can show up and hold space and offer the tools and teach, right? And help you get out of that space. But it has to come from the individual's desire to shift. That is the only way to get out of victim mentality, because it is the only way that you will actually sustain the process and the tools. And on those days, like you said so astutely, when we fall back into it, because it happens, of course, that's the only way that we can pull ourselves back out, because we know what it looks like on the other side.
Yeah, and and again, right? Like, so when I think about this last go through, right? Like last year for me, when I went into that depression, and it was probably, I don't want to say the worst depression I think I've ever had, but really, 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 really close. Like, it was really bad. It was COVID. I was trapped in Arkansas. I just got my kids back. I didn't know what to do. Every contract got canceled. I had no money coming in. And I'm sitting here 1,200 miles from anyone I know, and COVID is exploding. And I had no idea what to do. Like, none. Like, what am I doing? I'm living in a motel, like, with 3 kids and trying to help them heal, but I'm broken. And it was a series of events for me. It was, but what I think it did was it also triggered my thyroid to go out of whack.
Mm.
So early May, I got my thyroid medication adjusted, and then, which is another thing that most males don't even understand to look for. So that's probably something that guys should probably look into and research, because the thyroid screws with you royally.
Hmm.
And when I changed the medication, I started little by little crawling out of it a little bit. Then George Floyd died. Then I started to round tables. I found a passion and a purpose. And then Annie introduced me to Brene Brown. And then I started doing the work and journaling and gratitudes. And like, I started doing the work for the first time in my life.
Hmm.
And it was a combination of many things. Like, I don't think it was just one thing, but there was an underlining motivator, and there was an underlining fire that I never felt before to get things done.
Right.
Didn't want to live that way anymore. I couldn't
You
keep
got to your low pain threshold. You
my
were,
yes,
yeah.
which is kind of amazing considering how many lows I've had. But apparently, that's a new low. I don't know. I guess it
Well,
was.
it evolved too, right? Like your low last year might have been different, if it had been 5 or 6 years previous, but
That's true.
it's all in the moment. That's the thing. It's all in the present moment. But whatever you needed to go through that experience to get you to where you're at today. And I believe that everybody is supported by the universe, by whatever you want to call it, God or source or spirit or universe or whatever. But I do believe that we are all supported, and we just have to remember to listen. And we just have to remember to trust ourselves. But it's really hard and really challenging, especially right now. We've been, all of us, humanity has been thrown massive curveballs. For me, one of the biggest things that I think is comforting is that we've all been thrown the massive curveballs. Literally every human on this planet has been thrown, some pretty massive curveballs. And we all have to make a choice every day. Do we do we get pissed off about it? Do we struggle? Do we make our lives harder? Or do we choose to find joy and ease and pleasure and show up for ourselves? So I choose the latter, which I'm sure is obvious, but that's something that I just keep top of mind every single day. Like, I make this conscious choice, and I use tools to keep it in front of me. That's why I love affirmations so much, because it's just such a powerful way to keep it at the forefront. And I love, just say this here because I feel like I say it all the time, but it can't be said enough. Put them on post-its. Like, write an affirmation for yourself and put it on a post-it and just stick it anywhere you're going to see it regularly. And I'm in my bedroom right now, so I can't show all my post-its that are sitting on my computer, but that's one of my anchors, to have these post-its that remind me of how awesome I am. And so even on like my shittiest moment, I'm like, okay, look at the post-it. Yeah, I'm pretty awesome. And then I get right back in the game.
And you have the cards too, right? You have the
Yep.
sassy,
Yep.
yeah, too. So, like, I mean, you're magical with those, and you're great, and I love them, and they're amazing. And affirmations, I never really understood them, right? Like, I never understood it, but I also think that before I did the work, I didn't believe in them either.
Yeah.
So it was kind of,
Me neither.
it was. I'm sorry, I'm listening. I'm reading Nancy's comment. Oh, well, me and Kelly hit
Oh,
the.
I know Nancy and I talked about this, the dry erase markers on
Yeah,
every
yeah.
mirror. I'm looking at, I have 3 right now, but she and I talked about that, and we were exchanging our mirror affirmation pictures with the dry erase, because it's awesome. It's so easy. Like, there's no obstacle. Just do it.
And that's the thing, because even if you don't believe them, right? Like, that doesn't matter. I mean, at first you seem silly reading them when you don't believe them, and that's how I felt for, I don't know, at least the first few months, right? Like, I didn't believe them at all. I mean, I really didn't. Like, I had no clue. Um, and it was over time, not only did I start believing them, but I started expanding them.
Hmm.
And I started evolving them. As I evolved, they evolved. As I've grown, they've grown. And it's really, I guess it really all comes down to self-awareness, right? Because you have to be aware of where you're at the moment, at all moments, because the
Yep,
moment so fast. So
exactly.
what is the next thing that you're doing? I know that you just did the self-love week,
Hmm.
right?
Yep,
Right around Valentine's Day. So then
yep.
what's for you? What is your next thing coming up that you're going to inspire so many people with?
Well, one of the things that I am really focused on, like I said, is teaching. So I have my next, so I do a women's circle, and it's a group program that it's a 7 week experience. So my next cohort is starting next week, actually, March 3rd. So I have 20 women signed up, which is amazing. So they always cap at 20 because I want to keep it an intimate group where we can connect. So those happen every couple of months. I start one of those cohorts. And then I'll be offering additional classes, workshops, etc., on mindset, on self love, self care, um, just really how to show up authentically. And the other thing that I'm doing is really stepping up my game on YouTube because I want to create, I'm good on video and I love teaching in that format. So I want to create as much content as possible that I can put up as quick videos, ideally 10 minutes or less, including guided meditations, including mini trainings, and just information that everyone can access through my YouTube channel, which is just Sassy Healthy Fit. So that's really something that I'm passionate about is teaching, and I really just keep thinking, how can I reach as many people as possible? And I think that video is one of the coolest ways to do it.
100%, because people can feel the emotion through it. They hear the words. They can just listen if they want. They can watch if they want.
Exactly.
You gain their attention through your voice and your energy, and then they turn around, they pay attention and want to watch the rest. Talk about your jam sessions too that you do with Simon.
Yeah. Oh, I love the jam sessions.
Or this month? It's not next month yet. So this month, yeah, this month.
Yeah, so Simon Parsons and I started doing these jam sessions. Well, he actually started at the end of 2020, and then he invited me to participate with him, and I said, let's make this a thing. So every month a topic, and we get together and we invite anybody who's interested in joining us. And they're not all entrepreneurs. It's co-ed, and anybody that wants to participate in the conversation, we welcome it. And the intention is to offer a topic. He and I, Simon's also a mindset coach. We offer some teaching, some wisdom, some guidance, and then we invite the conversation because, like you and I, Mike, have talked about, it's all about the conversation. So in January of this year, we talked about intention setting and reflection on habits. In February, we talked about self love. And Annie, of course, was our lovely guest. And don't have the topic yet for March. So we're always open to ideas. And I'm not even sure, what this is leading to. This isn't like a sales plot or anything like that. We just really want to engage in this community conversation where people can come together and hopefully walk away with some nuggets of wisdom and connection to other humans so that they can be more fulfilled, more passionate, more purposeful in their own life. So that's what it's all about.
I don't think there needs to be a purpose for it when you have an intent, right?
Right?
Because
Yeah, absolutely.
clear intent. I mean, I went this month and it was amazing. Conversation was great. I only caught the second half, but it was amazing, right? Like everybody wanted to participate. There was people that wanted to share, and it was probably pretty equal men to women also, which is really unique because a lot of times in those groups, I'm usually one of the very few men, because I just don't care. I'll share, right? Like I have nothing to hide.
Right.
I'm pretty open about all my flaws, so I'm good like that. So no problem just putting them out there. Um, but like it's really just a healthy environment, right? It's an environment for people to come together and have honest, open conversations.
That's
And
the point.
I love it. I think it's beautiful, and you're creating that into a community.
Thank
Maybe
you. I love it. Community, I think, is so powerful because it's not just about, somebody learning from either of us, right? It's like somebody can observe what I'm doing, what you're doing, and they can have a takeaway. They can have a moment of the light bulb goes off and they're like, oh, that's cool. I want to try that in my life. I want to implement that in some way. But when you can connect a room of people, and it could be a virtual room,
Mhm.
and they kind of riff off each other, and someone says one thing and it bounces off another one, and then they have this, like, it's like a ping pong game. Ping pong? Yeah. Or pinball. That's what I was thinking. It's like the pinball machine. The ball goes and then it like ding, 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 ding. And it's so beautiful to see that energy and that magic happen. So that's what I really like about any kind of community event like that.
Nancy wants in. She just asked when's the next one
The
happening.
next one's going to be we had a conflict. We usually do them on Wednesdays, but our next one's going to be March 18th, which is a Thursday. So it'll be that evening, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So we'll announce the topic and everything probably in the next week or so.
Are you going back to Wednesdays? Can't do Thursdays.
After that, we just had a conflict in March on Thursday.
We have boys, so we that kind of absorbs Thursday evening pretty well.
Yeah, totally.
They go on 90 minutes to 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah, you've got your yes.
Yes. The group jovial, serious conversations that we have for the whole world to see. So here's another thing I wanted to say, because as I've been going through this healing process, I've watched my son do it too.
That's awesome.
My oldest, she's still avoiding a lot of it. She doesn't talk about it. She hides behind it. My 3-year-old is now showing what's impacting her from it, what she went through, the abuse. And now she has nightmares every single night, will not sleep unless I'm sleeping first. She has to cuddle up with me after I'm already sleeping, because if not, she won't sleep.
Right.
She will literally stay awake 24/7. Nancy made a response. I know, Kelly, we're both going to hit the button at the same time. Did I freeze? Did you freeze? Did everybody freeze?
No, we're good.
So my son, right, who's very good at playing the victim, because he got the worst of the abuse, right? Mm-hmm. He got the extreme, utmost, worst amount of it. Any time since I've had him, if anything went wrong in the house, he starts screaming, "I'm sorry, it's my fault, I did it. Everything's my fault," and then go inward, go crawl in a corner and just sit there on his iPad. What I noticed over the weekend when I was going through my crap, which was really cool too, he actually looked at me, or I said something. I said, "Sid, you dropped that." And he goes, "Well, I'm sure that's my fault too." And I looked at him and he goes, "No, Sid dropped it." Like, he actually stopped himself.
Cool.
He's 8 years old. Like, that's awesome.
It is awesome.
Think about it until this conversation, because even that day I didn't realize it. I didn't, because I was stuck in my own shit. Sunday I didn't realize it because that was the day before school after 12 days home. So I was like literally throwing a party around the house. You guys are all getting out of the house, so let's go. And then I just realized it now. He actually got out of it on his own.
Well, you'll have to recognize him for that.
I will. I think that's going to come in the form of more Robux. Knowing him, all recognition right now goes to Robux.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
Hey, whatever it takes, right? Positive recognition and positive reinforcement is always a good thing.
Yeah, Robux is great. Well, I'm getting lots of good news today, so we'll see what happens. It's kind of nuts what's going on in my life.
Good.
We will see. Things are amazing. But yeah, I love what you're doing, and I love how you come across, and I love your messages every day, and they're so relevant. And every day you have these little things that I look at. It's like, even when I'm not paying attention to LinkedIn, which is a lot more lately because I just don't do it. Okay, I think I'm back. Okay, I need to figure out how to stop getting phone calls when live.
Put it on airplane mode.
Is that what it does? Maybe that would work. And then leave on one. Yeah, I got to do that next time. But yeah, like your everyday messages are just so pure and so relatable to everyone, no matter where they're at, and I truly appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
They're very genuine. They're very authentic. They're where you're at the moment, and it just relates.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And so, what are you going to do with your shows now? Are you still doing your interviews are you recording and then publishing them? Or?
I'm just doing kind of like pop-up style, kind of random, because I want to spend more time creating content for YouTube. So that's really, which, obviously can be seen anywhere, but I want to create training. So I'm calling it the Sassy AF Academy. And it's all these short videos that are on, like I said, mindset, empowerment, spirituality, and how to really tap into your authentic power. And so that's what I'm looking to create, is more content, more videos that are easily digestible. Anyone can access them. Like you said, you can listen, you can watch, whatever you want, and then teaching more classes. So that's really where I want to be spending my time. But I love doing interviews like this. So I'm also game for doing, any interviews. So if anyone watching is looking for guests on their show, hit me up.
And I have a few people I can introduce you to also that I'm sure would love it. So like Carl Sean, Carl Sean Watkins, he definitely have you on. That's a guarantee.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'd love an intro. You're so good with that. You definitely are the connected consultant, 100%.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time introing people. It's what I do. It's really amazing.
I love it. I love it.
It's the easiest way to help two people at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Like
Cool.
it's efficiency. It's about doubling down your helping, right? Like so
exactly.
people possible.
Exactly.
I really like doing it, and I see it intuitively who to introduce to who. So I just so back to the victim mentality. Let's close up with our original topic, because me and you could probably talk about a million topics.
Yeah, for sure.
So when it comes to victim mentality, if you have a friend who's falling into it, how can you help them get out? Let's start there. I think everybody during this time, and the way that things are going to go in the next 5 to 10 years, I think it's going to be very prevalent.
Yeah, I agree.
So it would help a lot of people.
The number one thing that I recommend to anybody that I work with, anybody that I teach, anybody that I guide or consult, is you have to get curious about yourself. You have to get curious about yourself. Until you can start to be honest with yourself, you're never going to be able to find the solutions that you desire. So that's number one, is you have to get curious and you have to get real with you. Number one, like get into your heart space. And if you don't know how to do that, then make the decision to seek out a guide that can help you do that. So that's kind of my number one tip.
Heart space is tough. Heart space.
It is. Oh, this is not easy work, by the way. This is like really challenging work.
Heart space is where all the pain sits. It's
so beautiful when you can open it up and when you can get out. Here's the problem. I was talking to my husband about this morning. Our brains can be assholes big time, because our brains, just essentially want to protect us from dying, right? Yes. So that's that monkey mind or reptilian mind, whatever you want to call it. And there's a lot of fear, and it activates our, fight, flight, freeze response. But look, there are many ways to activate your parasympathetic nervous system response, which calms everything down, stops the flood of cortisol in your body, stops the panic, the anxiety attacks, etc., through breath work, through meditation, through nature, etc. And when you can get into the space of calm and ask yourself the questions, that is the only way that you can start to find the answers. But it is challenging, because you might dig something up that you don't want to look at. And you know what? You are capable, you are worthy, and you are, mostly you are worthy of uncovering it so that you can work through it. If you keep covering it up, you're never going to work through it. So put on your big girl, big boy pants, get in there, because that's the only way. So that's like a little bit of my tough love, is like, come on, you can do this. And you don't have to go it alone, but you do have to make a decision every single day.
And again, it's not easy, right?
No. If it was easy, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's true, right? And what I realized is over the weekend, my tools are starting to come in, right? Nice. Because when I was processing over the weekend and I went through that, based on everything that I've learned about myself, I was actually able to trace it back to the root core issue, all childhood. And I mean, it was hours into crying, hours in, seriously, I almost flooded the house. It was crazy. And like, my kids are looking at me like, what's going on? Oh, you're just having one of those days again. And that's pretty much it at this point. They're like just kind of used to it at this point. And they're all on their iPads, not even noticing. Sid's sleeping all day because she was up all night because she refuses to sleep when it's dark out. And it was like being able to go through that pain, to find that core issue, to release that core issue. Sunday was still like processing mode, But what I realized Monday morning is that garbage was gone. Like,
Nice.
really released it. And, yeah, I still have my moments where my mind says, oh, well, this is the way it used to be. So go back. Right. But they don't stick anymore because I'm getting rid of the trauma. I'm getting rid
Yeah.
of,
You're healing. That's awesome.
yeah, we could call it that. Why not?
You should be proud of that. Be proud of that.
I am most of the time. Um, it's just so, oh, look at that. Raquel showed up. There you go, Raquel.
Hey, it's Raquel with the sassy hair. I love her. I love that picture, by the way. It's so cute.
Yeah.
It's just like, love it.
Doesn't look like her with the beanie and the sweats, but that's okay.
That's cute too.
It's adorable. She's awesome. I let her interview both she ended up interviewing Thomas too. Actually, we actually snuck Thomas in there.
Nice.
I had to bribe him with an extra with a day without a bath over that 12-day stay home thing.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing what works. I mean, they didn't leave the house. It was 30 degrees out. It was actually under 30 degrees out. They weren't sweating. He was sitting inside playing on his iPad. I said, if you'll go on live, then you can wait till tomorrow to bathe. Okay.
So funny.
Literally didn't know I didn't want to fight anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's just a beautiful process, right? Like when you start getting through a lot of it and you start seeing the results of all the work you've done, like you feel so much better about yourself.
Exactly.
Now, it doesn't mean you don't have the holes again, right? That you trip into, fall into, but it also means that you can get out of it.
Yes, the confidence and the
Right.
reassurance. Absolutely.
And then I'm blessed to have an inner circle that will literally look at me and say, shove it up your ass, go pull your head out of your ass and go fix it. You know how to do it, go fix it. Right? Like just get out of it, right? And I'm blessed, right? Because I've created that environment around me.
Right.
And those around me have created it for me as well. And it really benefits everyone involved. It's this win-win for everyone.
I love it.
So what else do you want to talk about in the last few minutes? I'm trying to count, but it's not working well.
Oh, I don't know. I think we covered a lot of stuff.
We did.
I feel good that we got a lot of stuff in there.
We did. We just covered your next 6 months of videos on YouTube.
I know, it's perfect. It's perfect. I did. So I'll just share the 2 videos coming up this week, which are 2 things that we talked about today on my YouTube. Are one on sing, and the other is on journaling. So that's cool. The other thing that I just want to mention is that if anyone's interested in talking about the moon phases and how that influences your energy, that's also a topic that I really enjoy talking about. And I have a course on that, which I haven't released the date. I have to figure out my scheduling. And I'll just throw this out there because this morning I had this download of what I needed to manifest. And what I need to manifest is somebody in my life to help me optimize my opportunity to connect with people through the work that I'm doing. So optimizing my YouTube, for example, optimizing my Instagram, that sort of thing. So not creating the content, but the optimization, the tags, the keywords, that sort of thing. So since I have another minute, I'm just going to speak it into existence that is the person I'm manifesting. So that's so I know that person will show up in my life in the right time. So I'm ready to receive is what I'm saying.
I'm pretty sure I've got about 1,000 of them in my network. So I'm sure that somebody will eventually reach out to you, and it's coming. It's already on its way for you.
Exactly. That's what I believe. That's the biggest thing. Like when you believe in yourself and when you know that you have the tools, like you said, Mike, it's on its way. My coach that I work with, she said it like this, which I really liked. It's like you're sitting at the train station and you have the ticket and you know that the train is coming. So there's no concern, there's no worry, there's no doubt. You know that the train is coming and you just have to sit back and wait for it to arrive in the station and you're good. And to me, that's exactly how I feel right now. So I've got big dreams, big goals, big things I'm manifesting, and it's all coming to me because I'm putting out the energy into the world. And I believe very strongly in that.
And I agree with you 100%. And that's the whole purpose, right? I mean, that's what we're here for, is to lift up others, elevate humanity, and push them to the next point.
And offer unconditional love.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. It's not always easy, but yes.
Exactly.
Like everything else, that's not easy, but
exactly.
it's definitely worth it. And Hallie, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I can't believe how much we covered in literally an hour. That's kind of
We
crazy.
just kicked some serious ass right then.
We really did. We
We did.
really covered probably a series of books in that, but that's okay. It
Well,
was
Kelly can break it up into all sorts of cool content to distribute in all the places.
that. Yes, there you go. Well, we'll talk to Kelly about that as soon as we're off live.
Yeah.
But
Thank you so much. This has been so fun.
yes, it has, and thank you so much, and everybody that watched, thank you so much for being there, and I'm sure we will be back soon. Love everybody. Have a great. What day is it? Wait, what's today? Thursday.
Thursday.
Oh shit! Tonight's the Misfit Toys. I guess tonight's the Misfit Toys, so somebody might want to look for that. I guess.
Go watch him on the
So
Misfit Toy.
so bad at promoting myself. Just not gonna happen. It's just